G'day, Corey. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Yourself, mate?
I'm very, very well.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us today. So this is the first in a series of videos that the Centre for Excellence in Child and Family Welfare want to do. Just speaking with CEOs from our sector about their experiences during this whole coronavirus pandemic. And so you're the first cab off the rank. Now, we're very well aware of everything that you and your organisation do, the important work that you do. But just for those tuning in, would you be able to just give a brief rundown of who you are and your organisation?
Sure. So UMFC has been going about 40 years, and it was established as a foster care agency, and we still do foster care today. But the programs are broadened out, so we have Child First and Family Services. We do some federally funded programs, so we've got a community legal service, and over time we started on the Victorian side of the border in northeast Victoria. We now provide cross-border services into Albury through the Children's Contact Centre, the Family Relationship Centre, financial counselling. So there's a broad spread of those sorts of services.
Okay.
And I've been here since, I've been the CEO since 1984.
Whoa, that's a long time. That's incredible. So you've really built UMFC up from the ground.
Well, a lot of people have. It's been a lot of great work from a lot of local people. It's been, it's been quite a good story.
Yeah, oh, that's incredible. So you're the CEO, and I'm just curious, what has it been like being the CEO during this time, these wild times?
Yes, it's been a lot of things. It's been a bit surreal, I think, because up here, before we had the COVID crisis, of course, we had the bushfires. So the whole of 2020 has been a very different moment of time that I'm aware of. But I suppose if I think about the COVID thing in particular, there's lots of things that make me think, first and most of all, I think it's been, as the CEO, incredibly humbling because the organisation, really, I don't do that much at all, but keep that amongst yourselves. The staff have been working extremely hard, very adaptable, and they've just got on with it. It's been extraordinary. And even at the board level, I remember the first board meeting we had after the COVID thing kicked off. The very first question the board asked me was, "How's the staff?" Yeah. And I thought, gee, that's as good as you can get in terms of the board. So it's been just really, I don't know, encouraging or energising just to see at all levels of the organisation, the people are tackling the issues and the challenges in the right spirit. I think also I've been, as a CEO, deeply appreciative that we're seen as an essential service, because people are very well aware that a lot of people have lost their jobs through this process. It's a very difficult time. And as an essential service, we've kept on going. And so as a CEO, that's terrific. So you don't have to handle all the great stress and strain of saying to people, "I'm sorry, but you haven't got a job anymore." That hasn't been a strain. So I think that's been a great thing that I'm very much grateful for. And I think it's been really refreshing to see the change in the big picture, that we're now looking at service delivery and what works. I mean, the whole conversation and focus is around how do we get the job done to the people most in need, which is quite a different spin from the normal state of affairs, which is you haven't filled this form out, you're not meeting targets, this compliance hasn't been whatever, and, your next audit's on next week, and have you got the paperwork done? So there's been a real shift to the fundamentals of what we're here for, which has been really refreshing. And I think it's been also refreshing to see the emphasis on pragmatic problem solving. What does it do to get the job done? That's what matters, not about what form to fill out. And I think it's also been, even though we're in the community services sector, it's also been very encouraging to see the role of government and the public sector come to prominence and be valued, because I think it's a great disservice to all of us to have a discourse which demeans public sector and the role of government. And the leadership we've seen at this time, I think, has been outstanding. So I think that's some of my comments about that.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and certainly the leadership is in stark contrast, arguably, to what was exhibited during the bushfires. So that's yeah. So is there anything that has surprised you during this period that's really come out of left field that sort of left you in astonishment?
Well, I suppose the big context surprise has been how quickly things changed. We sort of went along from, if you like, from top gear to going into neutral without going through the gears, and how quickly things just shut. And looking out the window to the empty streets, going down the street to the closed shops, just how things just went 180 degrees so quickly. But I think also what surprised me is how quickly people can adapt to that change. And also to remind ourselves that we get hooked into a routine of thinking, well, this is the way things are done. This is how you do things. Mm-hmm. And it's incredibly refreshing again to see, no, just because we've done it that way, doesn't mean to say we can't do it in a better way. So typically we get hung up saying, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. And now all of a sudden we can see, wait a minute, we can do really anything we like if the circumstances are there. And I think that's a nice reminder that we should free up our thinking more often without being caught in routines. So I think it's questioning how we do things is always very useful. And this experience shows, no, we can do things differently, quite radically.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think, that will impact how your organisation responds to clients in the future?
I think so. I think there's a great potential for even more accountability for us, in the sense that everyone's doing virtual contacts, as you know, so that the whole technology has been adapted, or the take-up of the technology has been so rapid for us. So we're doing things that probably, if this hadn't have happened, we'd be doing it in 2 or 3 years' time, and now we're doing it now. So that's been really good. And I think what it's meant is the accessibility both ways. So not that we'd say it, but our staff can't say, look, I can't see you until next week, sort of stuff. Now, there's no excuse for not seeing a person almost immediately, because you can make the face-to-face, or you can do a Skype, or you can do something. So that accessibility both ways. And I think potentially it also maybe gives our clients greater empowerment too, because I'm sure that some will say after this experience, look, I actually prefer to have the contact in this way on these terms. Sure. And there's no reason why we can't do that. So I'm sure I've heard our people say, look, some people have found it better as a service delivery because it's less intrusive on their family life, whatever. So I'm sure that'll be a positive change as well.
So there's definitely the potential there, you think, for more sort of telework and new ways of working with clients?
Oh, look, absolutely. While at the same time, when we get back to sort of normal, whatever that is, I think there'll be possibly a renewed appreciation for the importance of face-to-face work. So people will value actually meeting again and picking up all the subtle cues that you get when you're actually in the room with someone, and really valuing that sort of contact as well. So I think there's benefit both ways.
So I'm interested, and this is something I think that I've been doing in my own personal life. I'm sure everybody is. But how are you looking after yourself and your staff during this?
Well, for me, I've chosen to come to work each day, so my routine has really remained unchanged. And I've done that.
You're a very lucky man.
well,
the rest of us stuck in our houses.
Well, I'm telling my wife I'm doing that as a leadership role for the staff who have to come to work. The reality is, if I stayed at home, I'd have a bloody list out the door. But so my routine in that sense hasn't changed. But I think just regular contact. So I mentioned the role of and the appreciation of and leadership of government. Because we had the bushfires, we were having contact with Bushfire Recovery Victoria, and they were tremendous through the fires and post. They helped set up a webinar with Rob Gordon, who is, seen to be a bit of a guru with the disaster recovery movement. And he was really interesting. And he made a comment that, not that he was seeing himself as an expert in this current situation, because nobody is, it's unique. Mm-hmm. But he was, as a sort of professional in the area, he was suggesting that one of the features of the current situation is information deficit. We're not having the regular, normal contact with each other as we normally do. And he was really being an advocate for what he called redundant communication. And he didn't mean that in a demeaning way. What he meant was the trivial conversations that we have on a regular basis with each other, like, g'day, Corey, how you going? What's your day like? What are you up to now? Just that casual stuff that we do all the time, because it reinforces our own role and our own identity. And it just keeps us in the loop of normal sort of existence. Sure. And so we've been doing that almost intuitively. So when I was checking with our managers after having that question at the board, how are the staff, and finding that they were actually doing the sort of stuff that he was advocating. So he was saying, if you're having like a team or a Zoom staff, team meeting with your mob, you don't make it all work. You have a casual, chit chat. You have some sort of informal, just conversation about family life and what you've been doing, and so some of our team would have a routine where they wear all silly hats, for example, just to get that sort of.
We've done the exact same thing.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really important thing. So I hadn't heard that notion of a redundant communication before, but I really understood it and appreciated it. And so I think we've been trying to do that by reaching out, having the frequent contacts with people, not making it work all the time, and just checking in and making sure people are okay. So I think, and keeping some sort of routines going so that everything isn't completely strange. So I think that's been working pretty well.
Okay, so yeah, reaching out, having regular contact, not just about work, and keeping to schedules. You think?
Yeah, and acknowledging and being very explicit that from an agency management point of view, we're not expecting people, it's not business as usual. These are really unusual circumstances, and we don't expect the normal sort of routines from people and behaviours. So just acknowledging that as well, which is really important.
Okay, that sounds great. So of everything that UMFC is doing, and has done during this time, are there any things that for you stand out as things that you're proud of or quite happy with?
Well, yeah, look, I think I've sort of alluded to earlier, it really is the workforce, the staff, and that includes our volunteers, our foster parents, for example. I have literally heard nothing back in terms of issues or problems with I can't do this or I can't do that. People have been adaptive and they've used their initiative. The leadership has been throughout the organisation at all levels, with people being creative, doing things in the best way to look after themselves, each other, clients. So I think I couldn't be prouder of how people have conducted themselves. But I also would like to say beyond that, I've really been impressed with our peak body, the Centre for Excellence, under Deb Zavaras. I mean, she has been just a workhorse through this, and it's been, for us, connecting with other agencies through the meetings and webinars and seminars that she's been able to get, and also with DHHS, particularly their head office. I've got to say, as a regional provider, we've really had no contact with our DHHS regional office. It's all been through Melbourne. But the goodwill and the spirit and the partnership and the collaboration from them, Bushfire Recovery Victoria, DHHS, the leadership and energy of the centre has just been incredibly supportive, and you feel like you've really got people have got your back, and it's been great.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, well, thank you so much for speaking with us today. I know you're a very, very busy man. I just wanted to ask one other thing, just a lighthearted note to end our chat. Are there any funny moments or jokes that you've heard during this period?
Well, my youngest son,
in this Zoom meeting.
yeah, that's right. Yes, I had to think about that. I've got a bit of a reputation, but I think this one's okay. It's a bit political, but it's not. It's overseas. It's not us. So we're fairly safe. So my youngest one gave me this. He'd heard this joke. He said, "What borders on stupidity?
What?
Canada and Mexico."
Oh, that's very political. Oh, very nice. I like that a lot. That's great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, Luke. It's been really wonderful hearing your ideas and all of your wonderful achievements that are being made out at UMFC.
Well, thank you, Corey. It's been wonderful having the opportunity to talk with you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Cheers.